Growing up in the Midwest city of Kalamazoo, Michigan, I was a kid who absolutely loved school. I was the shy oldest child in a family of 3 daughters. A lot of things in the world scared me, but I found school reassuring. I loved the structure and all the rules. I felt safe and secure with my teachers who were white, female, and looked and sounded a lot like the adults in my life. I learned very quickly that I wasn't the smartest kid in the class, but that if I worked really hard and followed all the rules and duplicated the example at the top of the page and met all the deadlines, that I would be successful. This was even true for me in sports. I was not an athlete and usually dreaded PE, praying the ball would never come near me. But I soon figured out that I was a good runner. I quickly learned the more I trained, the better I got. There was no chance involved. So I followed all the rules and worked harder than I needed to, and went through college with the plan to get a job that was practical, reasonable, and would allow me to be financially solvent. But when I finally landed a job in advertising in Chicago, I looked around and realized that I didn't care one bit about what I was spending my entire day doing. Also, I noticed that all the guys that I went to school with who didn't follow all the rules and weren't the best students and didn't work the hardest were all making a lot more money than I was. I started to question everything about what I'd been taught, how I'd been taught it, and what I really wanted to do with my life. Finding my way to education came from quitting my advertising job and buying a one-way ticket to Spain. I traveled until I found a town I loved and jobs teaching English that paid the bills, discovered that I loved working with young children and also the art and science of teaching. When my husband and I moved from Chicago to Evanston with a new baby boy in tow, we noticed that there was a lot of open-air drug dealing going on in the street in front of us. When I called my alderman to see what we could do about this, she convinced me to start a block club and come to a ward meeting. At one of the ward meetings, I met a social worker from the Evanston Police Department who was there to lead us in a circle about the hopes and fears for the youth of our city. I internally rolled my eyes and thought, if this is a little weird and kumbaya-ish for all these old grouchy neighbors of mine are going to think it's weird. But by the end of the circle, I was never happier to be wrong, and I started to believe in the power of restorative practices and listening to people's stories. I also believe that we can use the power of stories to teach and listen to important life lessons in school and about what it really means to be human, not just what it means to be compliant and follow the rules.